when aliens witnessed a Deathworlder's ultimate hold-my-drink moment. The Galactic Council Hall was an immense structure designed to house delegates from over 1,000 different species, with diverse physical needs and atmospheric preferences. It was a place meant for peace, diplomacy, and interstellar cooperation. However, on this particular day, it was filled with tension so thick, one could almost taste it in the recycled air. The human delegate, Thomas Tom Carter, sat calmly at his assigned seat near the edge of the chamber. His fingers drummed rhythmically on the table in front of him as his eyes scanned the various beings around him. It wasn't his first time dealing with such a situation. Humans, being the newcomers to galactic politics, had been tested repeatedly, ridiculed often, and doubted constantly. This was just another day in the galactic hot seat for Tom. Today's debate revolved around a relatively simple incident, or so Tom thought. A human convoy, on its way to deliver essential supplies to a fringe system, had encountered a group of pirates. As was protocol, the human ship had engaged the pirates in self-defense, eliminating them swiftly and efficiently. No big deal, right? Wrong. The Nalaxians, an insectoid race with an intricate exoskeleton and antennae that twitched whenever they were agitated, had taken offense to the humans' actions. Apparently, one of their trading vessels had been nearby, and they had witnessed the human ship's brutal efficiency firsthand. The Nalaxians claimed that the humans had used excessive force and demanded reparations for what they called unnecessary violence. Tom sighed inwardly as the Nalaxian delegate, Ambassador Zrix, stood at the center of the chamber, his mandibles clicking in agitation as he droned on about human aggression and barbarism. The human ship, Zrix hissed, did not just disable the pirate vessels, they destroyed them, annihilating every living being aboard without hesitation. Such actions are primitive, uncivilized, and have no place in our galaxy. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber, though not all were on Zrix's side. Some of the delegates had dealt with pirates before and understood the necessity of swift, decisive action, but others, particularly the more delicate species who abhorred violence, nodded along with Zrix's words. Tom remained silent, waiting for the inevitable moment when Zrix would direct his venomous speech toward him. And now, we turn to the human representative. Zrix sneered, his antennae pointing directly at Tom. How do you justify such wanton destruction? Is this the behavior we can expect from Deathworlders? Ah, there it was, the dreaded D word, Deathworlder, a label slapped onto humans because of Earth's reputation as a dangerous, unpredictable, and hostile planet. In the eyes of many species, humans were seen as reckless brutes, forged by the harsh conditions of their homeworld. It was a stereotype that Tom had dealt with time and time again. Tom slowly rose from his seat, straightening his uniform. He met Zrix's gaze evenly, his expression unreadable. Ambassador Zrix, he began, his voice calm but firm. Let's not pretend that the galaxy is a safe, gentle place. Pirates, as we all know, do not engage in negotiations. They attack, they steal, they kill. My crew did exactly what they were supposed to do: protect the convoy and eliminate the threat. Eliminate? Zrix spat, his mandibles clicking furiously. They didn't just eliminate the threat, they obliterated it. Tom shrugged. They made sure the pirates wouldn't come back. Before Zrix could retort, another voice cut through the chamber. It belonged to General Ruk Kal, the representative of the Rinnic Empire, a race of hulking, reptilian warriors known for their combat prowess and disdain for weakness. I, for one, think the humans did exactly what needed to be done. Ruk Kal growled, his deep voice resonating through the hall. Pirates are scum, and they deserve no mercy. The humans showed strength, something this council seems to have forgotten. Tom glanced at Ruk Kal and nodded in appreciation. The Rinnic might be fierce and intimidating, but they respected strength above all else. In their eyes, the humans had earned some degree of respect for their decisive action. However, not everyone shared Ruk Kal's sentiments. Another delegate, from the fragile Silith species who resembled sentient, floating jellyfish, floated forward, their translucent bodies shimmering with concern. But violence, no matter how justified, should always be a last resort. The human response was excessive. Tom could feel the weight of their gazes on him. Some were critical, others curious, and a few were openly hostile. It was time to make his case. You call it excessive, Tom said, turning to the Silith delegate, but to us, it's survival. On Earth, Our history is one of constant adaptation and resilience. We've faced challenges, both natural and man-made, that would have wiped out other species. We survived because we fought back. We don't look for violence, but when it finds us, we end it. Bold words, Ruck-Kal rumbled, his yellow eyes narrowing. But words alone won't prove your point. Human. Tom raised an eyebrow. And what would, General? Ruck-Kal grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. A demonstration of your strength. I've heard tales of human endurance and resilience, but I've yet to see it for myself. The room fell into an anticipatory silence. It was common knowledge that the Rinnoc were some of the strongest beings in the galaxy. Their physical prowess was unmatched, and they prided themselves on their combat skills. Challenging a human, even indirectly, was a way for Ruck-Kal to prove a point that no matter how fierce the humans thought they were still inferior to the Rinnoc in raw strength. Tom considered his options. He could refuse, but that would only play into the hands of those who viewed humans as weak and cowardly. Or, he could take the bait and show them exactly why humans were a force to be reckoned with. All right, General, Tom said, stepping forward. What kind of demonstration are we talking about? Ruck-Kal's grin widened. Simple, a test of endurance. You and I will enter the arena. No weapons, no armor, just strength and willpower. The one who remains standing wins. The arena, Tom had heard of it. A massive, open space deep within the council building where disputes were sometimes settled in physical combat. It was an archaic practice, one that most species had abandoned in favor of diplomacy. But for the Rinnoc, it was tradition. Fine, Tom agreed, much to the surprise of several delegates. But if I win, you acknowledge that humans aren't just Deathworlders. We're survivors, and we're damn good at it. And if I win, Ruck-Kal growled, your people admit that they need to learn restraint, and the council imposes sanctions on your military actions. Tom smirked. Deal. The council chamber erupted in whispers as the delegates discussed this unexpected turn of events. A human challenging a Rinnoc warrior in the arena? It seemed like madness, but for those who had been on the receiving end of human stubbornness, it was something to be expected. The arena was vast, with towering walls and an audience section that circled the entire space. The ground was hard and unforgiving, a perfect setting for a test of endurance. Tom stood on one side, his heart steady but his mind racing with strategies. He wasn't the strongest human, but strength wasn't everything. He had speed, agility, and most importantly, a stubbornness that wouldn't let him quit. Ruck-Kal, on the other hand, was a hulking mass of muscle and scales. His armor had been stripped away, revealing his thick, green hide that glistened under the artificial lights. He cracked his knuckles, his yellow eyes locked on Tom. The crowd, consisting of council members and staff, filled the arena's stands. There was an electric tension in the air, a mix of excitement and disbelief that this challenge was actually happening. A loud gong sounded, signaling the start of the match. Ruck-Kal wasted no time. He charged forward like a battering ram, his massive feet thundering against the ground. Tom, however, was ready. He sidestepped the initial rush, ducking low as Ruck-Kal's fist swung through the air where his head had just been. The Rinnoc spun around, snarling, "You can't dodge forever, human." "Don't have to," Tom quipped, circling around his opponent, looking for an opening. Ruck-Kal lunged again, this time with a more calculated strike. Tom blocked the blow with his forearms, wincing as the force reverberated through his bones. The Rinnoc was stronger than Tom had anticipated, but he wasn't invincible. For the next several minutes, they exchanged blows, Tom dodging and deflecting while Ruck-Kal pressed the attack. The crowd watched in awe as the human held his own, refusing to back down despite the odds. Tom could feel his muscles screaming in protest, his lungs burning from the effort, but he wasn't about to give up. Not yet. This was more than just a fight, it was a message to the entire galaxy. At one point, Ruck-Kal managed to land a powerful hit to Tom's side, sending him sprawling to the ground. The crowd gasped, thinking the fight was over. But Tom, ever the resilient Deathworlder, gritted his teeth and forced himself back to his feet. His vision blurred for a moment, but he shook it off, steadying himself. Ruck-Kal looked at him in disbelief. "Why won't you stay down?" Tom wiped the blood from his lip and grinned. "Because that's not how humans do things." With renewed determination, Tom launched himself at the Rinnoc. He was smaller, yes, but he used his agility to his advantage. weaving in and out of Ruk-Kal's strikes, landing quick, precise blows to the larger alien's joints and vulnerable spots. The Rinnik, unused to such a tactic, began to falter, his movements slowed, and Tom seized the opportunity. With a final, powerful strike to Ruk-Kal's exposed neck, the giant alien collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The arena fell silent. Tom, battered and bruised, stood over Ruk-Kal, breathing heavily. "Guess we're stronger than we look," he muttered, offering the fallen warrior a hand. Ruk-Kal hesitated for a moment, then grinned and took Tom's hand, allowing himself to be pulled to his feet. "You've earned my respect, human." The crowd erupted into cheers, and Tom couldn't help but smile. This was more than just a victory for him, it was a victory for all of humanity. The galaxy had just witnessed a Deathworlder's ultimate hold-my-drink moment, and they would never forget it. The arena echoed with the distant roars and cheers of alien delegates, but for Tom, everything was drowned out by the pounding of his heart and the fire in his veins. His body ached from the brutal exchange with Ruk-Kal, but he knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. He had to endure, to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. As Ruk-Kal stood before him, breathing heavily and flexing his massive arms, Tom could see the disbelief etched across the Rinnik warrior's face. To Ruk-Kal, it must have been unthinkable that a human, a species many in the galaxy had dismissed as fragile, could last this long against someone of his size and strength. But Tom wasn't just any human. He was a Deathworlder, from a planet where survival wasn't a luxury but a necessity. Earth had shaped its inhabitants into resilient beings, capable of withstanding the harshest conditions and most brutal challenges. It was a lesson the galaxy hadn't fully learned yet. "Still standing, I see," Ruk-Kal rumbled, his voice deep and guttural. Tom cracked a smile, wincing slightly as he adjusted his stance. "Takes more than a few punches to keep me down." The Rinnik warrior grunted, his yellow eyes narrowing. "I admit, I underestimated you, human. But this ends now." With a thunderous roar, Ruk-Kal charged again, his fists clenched and his muscles rippling beneath his scales. Tom braced himself, knowing full well that this was it, the final push. If he couldn't outlast Ruk-Kal now, he wouldn't get another chance. But Tom wasn't planning on losing. As Ruk-Kal's massive fist came crashing toward him, Tom ducked at the last second, narrowly avoiding the strike. The force of the blow caused the ground to crack beneath them, sending a shockwave through the arena. But Tom didn't falter. He used the momentum to his advantage, launching himself at Ruk-Kal's exposed side. His fists connected with the Rinnik's ribs, landing a series of quick, calculated strikes that sent the larger alien stumbling backward. Ruk-Kal growled in frustration, but Tom didn't let up. He pressed the attack, ducking and weaving as he landed blow after blow. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the human, a species many had considered weak, took the fight to one of the galaxy's most feared warriors. It was a display of skill, endurance, and sheer determination that none of them had expected. Ruk-Kal swung wildly, trying to regain control of the fight, but Tom was too fast. He sidestepped the Rinnik's strikes, using his smaller size and agility to stay one step ahead. Every time Ruk-Kal missed, Tom made sure to punish him for it, landing another punch, another kick, wearing the giant down. But it wasn't just physical strength that kept Tom going. It was the knowledge that this fight was bigger than him. This was humanity's moment to prove itself on the galactic stage, to show that they weren't just another primitive species waiting to be conquered or dismissed. They were survivors, fighters, and innovators. And Tom would be damned if he let this opportunity slip away. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of back-and-forth exchanges, Tom saw his opening. Ruk-Kal, now visibly fatigued and struggling to keep up, left his guard down for just a fraction of a second. It was all Tom needed. With a surge of adrenaline, Tom lunged forward, delivering a powerful uppercut to Ruk-Kal's jaw. The Rinnik's head snapped back, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. The giant alien wavered on his feet, his eyes wide with shock, before he collapsed to the ground with a resounding thud. The arena fell into a stunned silence. Tom stood over Ruk-Kal, breathing heavily, his fists still clenched. His entire body ached, his muscles screaming in protest, but he remained standing. He had done it. He had outlasted one of the galaxy's most formidable warriors. As the seconds ticked by, the crowd finally erupted into cheers, the sound filling the massive arena. Delegates from countless species stood and applauded, their disbelief giving way to admiration. Tom had proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that humans were not to be underestimated. From the corner of his eye, Tom saw Rukkael stir. The Rinnic warrior groaned as he slowly sat up, rubbing his jaw with a pained expression. For a moment, Tom wondered if Rukkael would demand a rematch or call foul. But instead, the massive alien let out a deep, rumbling laugh. "You fought well, human," Rukkael said, his voice tinged with respect. "You have earned my respect." Tom extended a hand to the fallen warrior, helping him to his feet. "You're not so bad yourself," he replied with a grin. Rukkael nodded, his yellow eyes gleaming with newfound admiration. "I underestimated your kind. That won't happen again." As the two warriors stood side by side, the crowd continued to cheer, their applause echoing through the arena. But for Tom, the fight wasn't just about earning Rukkael's respect. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. Humans were more than just Deathworlders. They were survivors, warriors, and innovators. They were a force to be reckoned with, and anyone who underestimated them did so at their own peril. As the applause continued, Tom glanced up at the stands, where the Galactic Council members sat, watching intently. He could see the looks on their faces, some surprised, others impressed, and a few still skeptical. But that didn't matter. Tom had done what he set out to do. He had shown them that humans were more than capable of holding their own in a galaxy filled with powerful species. He had shown them that humans were a force to be reckoned with. And most importantly, he had shown them that when a human says "hold my drink," they mean business. With a final nod to Rukkael, Tom turned and began to walk out of the arena, his body aching but his spirit soaring. The galaxy had just witnessed a Deathworlder's ultimate hold my drink moment, and they would never forget it. Tom made his way through the winding corridors of the Galactic Council building, his thoughts still buzzing from the fight. He could feel the weight of the stares from passing delegates, some still unsure how to process what they had just seen. A human, not just surviving but triumphing in combat against a Rinnic warrior, it was unheard of. As Tom reached his quarters, the adrenaline finally began to fade, leaving him feeling exhausted but satisfied. He sat down heavily on the small bed, wincing as he took off his boots. His muscles were sore, his knuckles bruised, and he knew he'd be feeling this fight for days, but it was worth it. His comm device buzzed, and Tom picked it up, expecting a message from the council. Instead, it was a video call from Earth. Tom smiled as the familiar face of his sister, Emma, appeared on the screen. "I heard you kicked some alien ass," Emma said with a grin. "The news is already all over the place back home." Tom chuckled. "Yeah, something like that. It was intense." Emma raised an eyebrow. "You, intense? That's a first." "Ha ha, very funny," Tom replied, shaking his head. "But seriously, it was more than just a fight. I had to prove that humans aren't just, well, Deathworlders." "Looks like you did," Emma said, her voice softening. "We're all proud of you, Tom. You're making history out there." Tom leaned back on the bed, feeling the weight of her words. "Yeah, I guess I am." As he spoke, he could still hear the distant cheers of the council chamber in his mind, the echo of victory and respect that had reverberated through the arena. Today wasn't just about winning a fight, it was about proving that humanity could stand tall in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. "Take care of yourself, okay?" Emma said, her tone more serious now. "Don't get too cocky just because you won one fight." Tom smiled. "Don't worry, I'll be careful. And hey, if another alien tries to challenge me, well, you know what to say." Emma rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. "Let me guess, hold my drink." "Exactly," Tom replied with a grin. "Exactly." As the call ended and the screen went dark, Tom lay back on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, filled with species stronger, faster, and more advanced than humanity. But humans had something they didn't, something that couldn't be measured in brute strength or technology. They had resilience, and that made them dangerous. And with that thought, Tom finally closed his eyes, letting the exhaustion wash over him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and new battles. But for now, he was content. He had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. And he had a feeling that they wouldn't forget it anytime soon.